All right, guys, quick little video update here. This is Sunday, week 6. I'm calling the build, even though we're whatever, month 4. Lots of odds and ends this weekend. Starting to kind of bring a bunch of different pieces on the build across the finish line. Sorry if you guys hear some background noise. Just got a sudden thunderstorm here, but so right now where the build stands is kind of the front of the car is pretty much put back together. We're just working on some center console stuff, which should get wrapped up probably Tuesday night, and then the front of the car is done. And then, as you guys see in front of you, there's 2 amp racks in this car. There's one that's hidden, which is this one, and then there's the main one. So I'm hoping by Tuesday, this thing is ready to go in the car, this amp rack. And then the front of the car, finishing the center console on Tuesday, I am essentially done with everything except the main amp rack in the back, which makes me really happy. So what you guys are seeing here, so even though this is hidden, yeah, stuff is not fully loomed inside of the protectors. While this is probably going to go into competition someday, the idea of looming literally every single wire that's hidden behind a panel, I know that's against Emma craftsmanship, but as an installer and person trying to finish the build, balance, competition is a very, very secondary part of what this build is going to be. So there's just got to value your hours in certain places. So again, the main amp rack is going to be showpiece. That'll be fully loomed and upholstered, and that'll be a showpiece. This is something that gets literally buried behind a quarter panel, but I still want to give it my treatment, where things are highly serviceable, highly safe, modular, clean. There still is a bunch of 3D printed wire management here, with, again, serviceability and safety are always at the top of the list of how I do my builds. So what you guys are seeing in front of you is the MMATS 2000.2. So this is powering the 24 in the back. Not a common, they make really, really nice amps. I would recommend them if you have a mono amp or a sub or a load where you need huge clean power. So this is relatively small footprint, and that's making 2000 watts at 2 ohms at 13.8 volts, which is going to be more than enough to power the 24 and IB. The 24 is rated to 3500 RMS, but in an IB application, 2000 watts is going to be plenty. So and then the Eton Micro, which is a 120.2. This is simply here to run our rear fill. Tiny little reliable amp. And so this is kind of things that we won't have to, that are not really showpieces in terms of amps, but are mounted very safely, nicely, cleanly. So what we have going on the connection side, so we have an Anderson connector here with 4 gauge that runs directly to the MMATS, which is probably the most power demanding amplifier in the entire system. And then we have 2 XT90s. So this is for each coil of the sub. And so I have those run up to kind of a termination strip. So what this is allowing me to do is something that happens down the road, maybe the 24 doesn't stay, we go to an 18. Not that it really does anything. It's more the fact that inside of the trunk, I don't want to wire the coils together, even though I'm going positive to positive, so I'm going parallel. I'm trying to get to 2 ohm final load out of a dual 4 ohm sub. I don't want to have that happen in the trunk, so I'm doing it at a termination strip so I can just run individual, clean, basically inside of here. When you're looking at the 2 terminations here, is I don't want to have anything that runs here or across the sub. I want them to basically come down. I'm basically going to try to hide them here on the basket and out and have it go on each side of that. So that way the wiring to the sub is as invisible as possible. Again, I just don't want wires that come over. So I'm doing that connection on the amp rack itself. So again, you got the 2 coils that run up, then they're tied together on these little jumpers here, and then the outer jumpers here are the 10 gauge that runs to the speaker output side. Then next to that is using the Resonix solderless solution here. So I have female ends, which you don't see too often, but that is for, again, my rear sub connection and then my rear fill connections, so that I can take my RCAs, plug them in. Again, this whole amp rack is completely modular, serviceable, so if I need to take it out, I don't have to try to mess with getting to the connections here or try to get the connections here. I can literally just pop out these 1, 2, and 3 factory subwoofer mounting location bolts, and the whole thing goes poop, and then pop the plugs here, and this amp rack comes out in seconds, literally. So that's how I want to build it. It's honestly how I intend to build the other amp rack. There's going to be a couple of small limitations to that in connections, but 99% of that amp rack is going to be just like this. Even though it's going to be a huge amp rack with 4 amps and a DSP and power distribution on it, and it's going to weigh a ton, it's still going to come out as one modular piece, with the exception of maybe one optical connection that we'll have to run across. But I have a female to female connector that I'm going to see if it's going to work reliably or not. But with that said, last piece is a new venture for me, and man, am I addicted to Deutsch connectors. So what we have here is the speaker for the rear. So you got the rear left, rear right, and then you have a amp 6, which is the Eton that I'm calling amp 6. This is the power and the remote triggers. So you have positive, negative for power, and then blue for the remote wire, and then an 8-pin Deutsch connector. And then the remote daisy chains from here up to the M mats. There'll be a relay, so there'll be plenty of power to that. But man, Deutsch connectors are freaking awesome. Now that I know what I'm doing with them, yeah, the amp rack is going to feature quite a few of them. So this thing's built on 3/4 birch ply. Again, 3D mounted cable management. Everything's tight, clean, really secure. I'm not going to throw it in the vehicle, but it ends up mounting. You can see a stud there, and then one last stud at the bottom. So that just sandwiches right there, fits really nicely, plenty of room. This is where the OEM sub is usually located, so there's plenty of depth, way more depth than I need for what I'm fitting. You can fit giant amps back here. I've seen Matt Schaefer fit a 01 in this area, and it was, I could call it roomy, but it fit. So we'll get that in. Maybe Tuesday I'll knock out getting these shortened up a bit, but for the most part, I'll probably leave these be. This is just all my front sub wiring, my main 0 gauge. Nothing's changed back here. Up on the passenger side, we've had some good little developments here. So you can see center console's kind of together. Really just needs these back panels. It's more because I got to work in this interior panel and then inside of here on Tuesday. But front, so first thing is the passenger floor is back together. With the subfloor and then the carpeted panel. A little dirty here, but we're working in there today. We got our carpeted trim panel, which is really, really nice carpet match. I use this carpet pretty much on everything, but it looks more contrasting in the camera than it even is in person. It looks pretty good on camera, but it's a dead-on match in person. So stick your finger in here. This pops right out. Sub is good to go in there. Got a 3D printed grill that breathes right through. Let's see that. And then, yeah. This goes in top first. And bang. Glove box. I'll finish this up on Tuesday. Put our Amp Pros inside of there. This will get a lot cleaner. It's just up there temporarily. And harness is right there. Our remote out is tied in there. That'll be our remote trigger to system in the back. But the pack will sit. I just need some double-sided Velcro and a little bit of cable management, and then that'll get locked into that little tray in the glove box, which is nice for serviceability of that. We can plug in the USB, do any updates if we have any issues, adjust chime levels. We don't have to go bury and take apart the dash to get to that. So that had just enough slack to reach there, so that should be a nice convenient location. One other thing I surprised Chris with was, let me see if I can find the existing condition of this. It's probably covered in glue, but yeah. So center console, basically you can kind of see the condition of what that was. It was just pissing me off, as I told him to look at that, just because it's the one piece that's probably got the most wear and tear in the entire car. The rest of the interior is in really, really good shape. So, but I decided to reupholster that for him. Honestly, found a great store on Etsy that makes a lot of these cushions. It's not even a cushion because it's just a vinyl replacement. You got to strip the old vinyl, leave the cushion, and then I just use like Landau, the spray adhesive grade, amazing crap that everybody uses in the high-end upholstery world, and put that back on, cut it, glued it, adhered it, and yeah, honestly, this is like, I don't know, 50 or 55 bucks or something, and it is like really nice fit and finish. You got the seams that tie in really nicely with the dash, and just a much nicer premium feeling experience once this goes all back together, to have a fresh cover there. So for 50 bucks and a couple hours of labor, really cleaned up that center console, and we'll get the rest of it back together. These are all our different signal wirings that'll go into a couple different combinations. Bunch of 3D modeling work. I'll post some of that on my Instagram story for the center console, but Kim, as always, has been helping me out a ton. So we got the center console here. So this was kind of we worked through a couple options for how this centerpiece is going to work. This is just a prototype because I have some standoffs here that are going to work with some outriggers to secure it to the underside. But essentially this will fit in here. There's some room for trim. Fits very nicely, follows the same curved profile. And what we will have is conductor right here. Then there's going to be a power toggle because we're doing a powered USB-C that's going to run through an SMSL. Even though for an iPhone, you could do wireless charging and USB-C direct and have the handshake be a little more reliable. He's getting an iPad, and in order to run an iPad with an SMSL and not have it drain the battery like really fast, whether it's a competition or a show, you need to have a PD rated USB-C charging. So essentially inside of the glove box, I'm replacing what you can actually see. This is the 12 volt DC. I took it out, I'm not going to show you guys, but anyway, in the main center console, there's a 12 volt cigarette lighter plug. I'm going to replace that with a circular PD charger like I have in my truck. Basically that delivers 65 watts of charging through the USB-C, so it can keep up with a current gen iPad that requires PD charging, and it'll outpace the draining, which you can sometimes get charging to work, but usually a OEM 2.3 amp USB port is not enough to keep up with the iPads or some major, even an iPhone running the SMSL. The SMSL is fairly taxing, even though it gets powered through the phone or the iPad, it's fairly taxing. So having that charging is much more reliable handshake. So, but sometimes the handshake is a little weird with iPads and iPhones. So that's why that will be a power toggle here to power the charging on and off. It'll be very inconspicuous. It's just for the handful of times when sometimes the iPhone won't recognize the SMSL or the iPad won't recognize it. All you do is you hit that power toggle, snaps right back to it, and then power the charging back on. It's usually only happens in like super rare situations where that handshake doesn't work, but I want a reliable way where he's not having to reach in anywhere to unplug a USB, plug in a USB. This is just, I've had it in my truck now for a few months and it works bulletproof. So we'll put that power toggle in there for him. And then on the far right side, there's going to be a small hole for the USB-C. And then I'm also going to run a 3.5 coax direct that will just have sit here. So for when he wants to use his Stolen Kern, he's got an SP2000. He can use that as well from here. But there'll be basically a magnetic mount that's on swivel. So I'll have a circular little stand and then a angular hold that can actually pivot, and it's 3 inches wide and with a large magnet, so he'll be able to put an iPad there and his iPhone, and then have that be kind of right here as his daily source location. Conductor right here kind of keeps everything in one central location to operate. That's right where your armrest is as you're driving, so that should be a nice convenience. We'll finish that. We'll trim this in some vinyl and try to make it look as OEM as we can. And hopefully on Tuesday, we'll put that all back together and that'll be good. And then in the center console, what's usually here is the off-road controls. These things right here. So this is actually going to go inside of the concealed center console. I was stealing this idea from Steve Cook. He put that in there. So I have another one of these printing at home that I'll trim down, but essentially we will have a panel that this sticks right into that goes into the center console, but the other one I have is 3-sided with standoffs. This was just a prototype to check some fitment. Again, Matt Kim helping me with some of these very odd profile pieces, because this thing, again, it curves in kind of 2 directions, so trying to work all through those pieces takes a little bit of time, and quite a few, you can see here, quite a few little test prints, trying different methods of how it's anchored on the printing plate. We tested a flat top model and see, because it would make mounting a little easier, but didn't care for that aesthetically of how it kind of stood too proud of the profile. So we're going with curved, and it should work out nicely now. So that'll come home with me tonight. I think that's it. Well, yeah, honestly, next weekend should have some amp rack progress, but front of the car will be done. Hidden amp rack will be done. Yeah, I'll convert I gotta start converting the OEM amp harness that's under here into a Deutsch connector with the pack set up, and then bring that over to the right side. So yeah, probably, yeah, by the end of next weekend, hopefully have all like my terminations on the inside of the car ready to go, and then my base plate of the amp rack built, maybe some amps mounted, but probably will focus on getting all of the pieces surrounding it, all the connections ready, and then again, the structure, that's the main plate anyways for the amp rack, so we're already kind of there. It's more just getting the tilts and angles correct, so it ends up flush at the top. That I just need to finalize this week. So, all right, guys, catch you on the next one.